I can do the gear change under load. Oh, you can hear that. Here is your gears and sprocket expert SickBiker, and today we talk about gears and sprockets. I'm going to show you right now how should we use the drivetrain on both road bikes and mountain bikes by changing the gears properly, and we'll take into account two main factors. Number one, the drivetrain's wear or lifetime, and number two, maybe even more important one, our comfort and performance. At the end of this episode, I'm showing you one thing that many advanced cyclists just completely miss out and waste their energy by doing it wrong. So first off, beginner stuff, don't worry about the chain looking like that here, because I'm going to show you something in a second. It's for a reason. This is the drivetrain. We have double crankset in the front, so two different chain rings and 11 sprockets on the cassette. So the bikes gives us a wide ratio of gears. Those advices will be applicable both to double chain rings and triple chain rings. So all mountain bikes, road bikes are just covered here. If you have just one chain ring here, it makes your job so much easier, but also the lifetime of your drivetrain will be shorter. Okay, so we have here higher gears, so more speed, and the harder one. This one, the little one in the front, is slower gear, so low gear. And here in the rear, same, low gears, high gears, right? High speed, low speed, but a lot of power here. Now, in order to change the gears properly, we have to think about the chain line, our chain, namely how the chain is working and is bending. We want to keep the line of the chain as straight as possible, because when we really crisscross our chain, it bends in many ways and it wears down so much quicker, and also we are losing power. I'm going to show you that at the end. Now, this is the process of changing the gears. As you can see, I already started changing the gears on this bike, because the rear derailleur already pushed the chain 2 or 3 sprockets up, but here you can see that the chain is still on the higher sprockets. So your chain really works a lot when we change the gear, and also you can see that we already have transmission on maybe 1, 2, I would say 1, 2, 3 teeth, but these here don't have transmission. We cannot transfer our power through these links here, so it is important not to use the drivetrain or change the gears under a lot of load. Now, important fact, we are being told that very often, don't change the gears under load, but in practice, in the real world, we do it, and we do it a lot. But if we can, we're gonna save our drivetrain, and that's what I'm going to show you in a second. Now, if we crisscross the chain a lot, in how many places it bends? It has to be, let's say, it will be on the lower sprockets here and the higher here. So it has to be, it has to lie exactly on the sprocket here. Then it will bend to the outside, going to the highest sprocket here, and then it has to bend once more to the inside in order to lie down on the sprocket right here, and then it bends 2 times more down there, and it bends also on the rear derailleur. So it makes all the links here working harder, because there is so much more friction between all those links. Now, how do we change those gears? I'm going to show you right now on the turbo trainer. Here I am on the bike. Super short reminder, this is the highest gear, and this is the lowest gear. So here I have a lot of power, but I can ride very, very slowly. So this is for uphills. And now, chain line. Chain line is super important here. What would you say is the perfect chain line on my smallest gear, smallest sprocket in the front? So when I'm on the smallest chain ring on my crankset, would you say this one is perfect? Probably this one. Maybe the camera isn't like perfectly parallel to the bike, but I would say This one looks good, right? So this is the perfect setup for my gearing here on the smaller chainring in the front, because the chain is going straight. I'm saving my sprockets and I'm saving power as well. In the minute about it more. Now we go to the largest chainring in the front. Now you can see that the chain is bending once again. So we are going down the cassette to the highest gear, higher gears. Would you say this one or this one? Probably this one, which is the what, 8th, 9, 10, 11, no, 7th. So probably 2 by 7, that's my perfect line of the chain. Now, if I know it, I know how should I be changing my gears. So, first off, trying not to do it under load. Let's say I'm on the highest gear right now, okay, and I'm going to slow down, or there's some small here. I can do the gear change under load. Oh, you can hear that. Or I can spin out my legs a bit more before I change the gear, and then lift my legs, or the power from the drivetrain, while I'm changing the gear. Now it's so much more quiet, right? Also, if going down, if I'm pushing hard, oh, we hear that. Okay, so just before I change the gears, I take away a little of load from my drivetrain, and it's working fine. Now, the perfect gearing. If you're driving the car, you don't want to be changing from 2nd gear into 5th gear, because you won't have any acceleration on your engine. It wouldn't be good for your engine as well. So let's start with the highest gear, or maybe the lowest will be better even. All right, I'm going really slow. I'm accelerating right now. So 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5. The chain line is still quite good. 1, 6. Let's say I go just till 1, 7, and now I want to change my gear. And now look what will happen when I'm changing in the front to the higher gear. There is so much difference in the cadence. My cadence went down quite a bit. So if you want to make a smooth gear change, look what I'm doing simultaneously, sorry. Okay? If you've noticed, I'm changing the gears simultaneously, going from the smallest chainring in the front to the higher one, and in the rear I'm going up 2 sprockets on the cassette. So I'll be changing gears here, and also the chainring in the front. So let's look about it once more at it. This is how I feel the gear change is smooth. And this is also the system that most of the electronic groups would give you. If you change the gear on the crankset, it would also automatically, both on road and mountain bike group set, change the gears for you. Okay, so I'm changing the gear, then going to the highest gear. Okay, I'm going really fast. Let's say some hilly terrain begins. I'm going maybe up to here, or let's say I'm going to 2 by 4, 2, 4. And now when I'm only shifting in the front, once again, big change in my gearing ratio. So I'm gonna shift down the cassette, also 2 by 2 sprockets and 1 sprocket in the front. Great. This works perfect. So this is what we should just carry in our mind when changing the gears. Now, how far I don't want to get with just 1 chainring in the front. If you see now, this is really bad. This is super bad for my drivetrain. and we would never want to go that long. So I would say maybe up to 7th gear down the cassette, and then I'm changing the gears like that, and I feel fine. Also with my biggest chainring in the front, I would say the 4th one and not more. 4th one, and then 2 sprockets down the cassette and 1 on the chainring in the front. I think this is the perfect setup. You just learned that. And of course, when you are mountain bikers maybe, and you go up the steep climb, sometimes you just have to push the gear under load here. You can always try to lift some load from the drivetrain when you change the gear, but in the racing condition, when you're super tight or it's super steep, you can do it. And you know, doing it from time to time will not ruin your drivetrain. But if you just can change the gears very smoothly without the load, that would be the best thing for you. One thing many advanced cyclists do wrong, in my opinion, is riding the big gear in the front, and we are going up the hill, so changing into lower gear in the rear, into lower gear in the rear, and you don't feel like really using the small one in the front because it just looks silly. So you go up the cassette by doing this. Can you hear the drivetrain? I mean, you can always trim the front derailleur here so that it won't be rubbing against the chain, but it is super loud, and you can see the chain wants to go down. And here is the method that many advanced cyclists just use, and they lose power because the drivetrain here really now produces so much friction that we lose power. Now, Ceramic Speed, for example, they do those pulleys and chains. They say you can save up to 16 watts by having really smoothly working drivetrain. Maybe that's the maximum you can actually save. But here, you really lose a couple of watts comparing to, let's say, this gear. The chain here is working quite nice. I'm happy with this. So just bear this in mind. Okay, the chain line is important, changing the gear smoothly. So if you change the gear on the crankset, you can simultaneously change those on the sprocket. And just be aware that if you do it simultaneously under super load, you can lose the transfer for a second. But otherwise, you always try to do it like that. Guys, thanks for watching. Give me in the comments some of your suggestions on how would you improve changing the gears on different systems. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.